Let's take a look at problem 5. Simplifying fractions within radicals. We are given the problem, the square root of 64 over 49. What is this problem actually asking us to do? We could rewrite this problem to look like this. So now we have the square root of 64 over the square root of 49. Let's think of a number that multiplied by itself gives you 64. What would that be? Survey says 8. So 8 is the square root of 64. Let's find out what is the number multiplied by itself. Give me 49. Take a look at that answer. The survey says answer is 7. That is correct. So when you have a fraction in the beginning that looks like this, you could rewrite it like that, find the square root of those numbers, and get your final answer, which is that. Let's take a look at this problem. Now we have the square root with 8x to the third power over 50x. What do we have to do to solve this problem? If you look at these two numbers, 8 and 50, they could be reduced along with the x to the third power and the x with the 50. So we can divide both of those numbers by 2. So when we divide those two numbers by 2x, we get that number. We're not done yet. We need to take that another step further, and we could rewrite it just like we did the other problem with a square root on top and a square root on the bottom. Once we do that, we can separate the two and break it down a little bit further. We can take the 4x squared and put the square root sign over the 4 and the x squared. And then just bring down the square root of 25 underneath. So we are left with the square root of 4 times square root of x squared over the square root of 25. Then we just have to look at those numbers in the square root sign. What is the square root of 4? That's correct, 2. What is the square root of x squared? Again, correct, x. And the final one, what is the square root of 25? Answer is 5. So your final answer is 2x over 5. Let's take a look at problem number 6, rationalizing denominators. in problem A, we are given the square root of 3 over the square root of 7. What steps do we take to solve this problem? Let's see what they did. You take the square root of 3 over square root of 7, and you want to multiply it by the bottom number, which is square root of 7, to both of them. You're going to multiply the top numerator by square root of 7 and the bottom by square root of 7 also. So when you multiply square root of 3 times square root of 7, you get the square root of 21. And on the bottom, square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is the square root of 49. And we're left with square root of 21 over square root of 49. There's not a number that'd be a square root of 21, but there is a square root of 49. And the square root of 49 is 7, so our final answer is the square root of 21 over 7. So let's take a look at what we just did. We took the original problem, square root of 3 over square root of 7, and we take the denominator, which is square root of 7, and multiply it by that original fraction. Then we take that number and reduce it as much as we can to get the final answer, square root 21 over 7. Let's take a look at this problem. In this problem, they give us square root of 7 over the square root of 8n. When looking at this problem, you can take a look at the square root of 8 and see if we can break that down. What numbers times each other, where one's a perfect square, can change the square root of 8n? By looking at that number, we can decide and know that 4 times 2 is 8, so I would rewrite it with a square root sign to look like this. Then I could rewrite that as square root of 4 is 2, left with the square root of 2n in the inside, and the square root of 7 left on top. So then I'm left with square root of 7 over 2 square root 2n. From here, we need to break it down again. Just like in the previous problem, we can take the number that's on the bottom that's in the square root sign and multiply that, the top and the bottom, by that same number, 2n. When you do that, the top becomes the square root 14n, the bottom turns into 2 square root 4n squared, because 2n times 2n is 4n squared. Looking at the number on the bottom, 2 square root 4n squared, we find out and look at 4, knowing that it's a perfect square, and the square root of 4 is 2. So the 2 comes out of the square root sign, along with the square root of n is 2. So we'll be left with square root 14n over 2 square root 4n squared. So what's happening is square root 14 n is on top. The 2 square root of 4 comes out, and you're left with 2 times 2, along with the square root of 4 n squared is n. Left with that. So I multiply 2 times 2, 2 times 2 to give me 4n. So my final answer would be square root 14n over 4n.